Man, it's been a crazy couple of days. I haven't had a chance to sit down in front of the video camera. I haven't had a chance to do anything since, obviously, if you can tell by the surroundings and you watch the video blog, I'm back in the Nashville office. Actually was planning on heading back to Tennessee on Sunday, but, well, a last-minute meeting got called on Friday that I had to be a part of, so we literally had to throw stuff in the car and head south. Of course, there was an ice storm going on in northeast Ohio, which I ended up getting locked, not out of my car, but inside my car, as my locking mechanism cinched up. That was quite fun. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to get out of the car. We got it handled. And then actually had to outrun the snow, as you got now 8 or 10 inches of snow at least in some parts of northeast Ohio. So it's been kind of crazy. I've just been swamped with actually like working for a change. But today's blog is entitled Crank It Up. And it's actually kind of a part of the trip from Ohio to Tennessee the other day. I was driving through Kentucky, which I guess technically most of the trip is actually through Kentucky. I'd actually just gotten into into northern Kentucky, when one of my favorite songs of all times hit the radio, hit the XM, and that was A Flock of Seagulls, and I ran. And I didn't think anything of it, and I just turned it up and cranked it up, as the old saying goes, and sang and screamed along and had a good time, and then turned it back down. Didn't think anything of it. Then I was flipping through the channels about 15 minutes later, and another one of my favorite songs came on. I think it was on the 80s channel. I think it was on the 80s channel. And it was, Yes, Owner of a Lonely Heart. And so, instinctively, not even thinking about it, what do? Crank it up. And I realized that there are just some songs, and those are two songs that I know for a fact, and I guess it was just coincidental they came up fairly close to one another, that no matter when they come on the radio, or come on the iPod, or wherever, you want to crank them up. Now, granted, sometimes you can't do it if you're in the car with other people. Most of the time I do drive by myself, so I'm able to crank it up, as the old saying goes. And it got me to thinking, it's like, okay, how many songs do I actually do that with? I mean, literally, and especially with The Flock of Seagulls. I can even do it with my wife in the car. No matter what, I crank it up. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, Van Halen's When the Cradle Will Rock, I always play pretty loud. Then there's like Cameo's Word Up. A lot of those 80s dance kind of songs. Nucleus, what is it? You Dropped a Bomb on Me. That's always a crank-up jam, as I guess they used to say. But then there's also some songs that, well, the whole song isn't good enough to crank up. One of those, for me, it's got I think one of the greatest guitar solos that I've loved for years since it first came out, was the song Jane by Starship. And there's a great guitar break in the middle of it, and literally you'll listen to the song at the regular volume, and then boom, that thing comes, hits a drum, and then the radio knob goes up, and you crank it up during that thing, and then you got to fade it back down properly, which we were doing back in the day, and I still do it to this day. I do it with there's this little guitar harmonica part, fairly short though, in the Eurythmics' Missionary Man. I do it with that. There's a guitar solo in Billy Idol's White Wedding by Steve Stevens. I crank it up there, and I just kind of laughed, and it's like, I've been doing that for 20 years with some of these songs. Crank it up. It made me laugh. And it made me realize that, I may be pushing 50, but I guess there's still a little kid in me, isn't there? Have a good one. Back tomorrow with another episode of the video blog. You can always find it where you're watching right now, or always just head to the homepage at kevinmason.tv, kevinmasonblog.com.